All right. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Definitely appreciate you hanging in there. Nick Marro here with DFS Jayhawk. As always, we're here to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Got a nice little four-game Monday slate. Jayhawk here read the wrong schedule, so we gave him a few extra minutes, but luckily we have an extra half hour for log, so we'll be just as long as usual. Get as much information in there. And with it being only four games, really shouldn't be an issue at all. But yeah, Jayhawk, what's your initial take on the slate, man? We got a lot of news still pending. We're getting some of the Celtics stuff coming in, but Jalen Brown's still a game time decision. Last I checked.
Yeah, man, really fun slate here. For only a four gamer, we have a ton of news to cover here. Obviously, we have some of it so far, but we do have other news to come in later. So excited to break this down per usual. Let's crush this slate, man.
Yeah, man. So let's go. Usually, when we have bigger slates, we got to kind of go by position or just really focus on specific injury spots. But with only four games, we can go team by team. Again, we're going to get a little bit deeper down these rotations than usual, given the fact that we just have less games, less teams to choose from. But tonight, first game on the slate, we have the Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics here in Boston. Celtics are 9.5 point favorites at home, 219.5 point total here. Definitely some injuries on both sides. I think the Heat are a little bit easier to talk about. We got no Butler, no Jovic, no Kevin Love, still no Josh Richardson. Terry Rozier is in. But yeah, with especially Jimmy Butler out, as well as a few other key rotational pieces, even in a tough matchup here, I think we do have to like some of Miami. I'm really interested in this. Sounds crazy to go to first, but I think Haywood Highsmith. I mean, with both Jovic and Love out, I don't see how he doesn't play. I don't know, at least 30 minutes here. We have him for 30.4. I said that right before I looked, so I feel pretty good about that. But yeah, I'm shocked at 3,900 on both sites. This guy's below 10%. Let me start there. How do you feel about Highsmith here? He might be my favorite value play on the slate, like considering ownership. Am I insane? Do you want to either support it or talk me off a ledge? I'm good either way.
So I actually don't hate the call there with Highsmith. Without Jovic and Butler, he should find himself to playing, decent minutes here. Like you mentioned, I think he makes for pretty solid contrarian value play. So I'm right there with you, man. I like him in, at top 6%. So
Yeah, and I mean the other good part is that this is the first game on the slate, or there's two games that lock at 7:30 Eastern, so we will have that starting lineup. The other guy who's probably going to slide into the lineup is Duncan Robinson. Again, I'm a little bit surprised he's not more popular. He is more expensive than we've seen him in these spots the last few slates. But at the same time, I mean, if he gets hot from three on a small slate like this at low ownership, I think he's fine as kind of a boomer bust value play. I mean, as far as core plays go here, I do think Hero's probably a little too cheap. Don't mind Bam. Definitely a better matchup with the likes of Horford and Porzingis both out, but at the same time, a lot of pretty good centers on the slate at varying price points. So yeah, I mean, I love Highsmith here. He's going to be in a lot of my stuff tonight. I like Duncan Robinson as another low on value piece, but to me, Hero is kind of the core play here. I'll probably get to a little Bam as well, but um, yeah, man, how much Miami is too much Miami, I guess.
yeah, so I actually kind of like Miami here just because Boston's, not completely depleted, but they're pretty hurt here. You mentioned it. I think Hero probably the safest play here at 7,500. Typically without Butler here, he's been really, really solid. So love Hero. And then with Bam here, I think he's also solid. Gets to go up against Nemus Keita instead of Kristaps. So I like him a lot in tournaments as well. And I think he should be under owned because it is on paper a tough matchup. So love those calls there.
Nice, man. Yeah, and I'm with you. Again, I think most of these guys are on their own. Hero's going to be chalk, but at that price, he's just a pretty good play. Um, Before I go to chat, guys, and obviously feel free to get your questions in, let's go over to the Boston side of things here. And I have the injury report in front of me first. We'll talk through this, but we did get some news since this has come out. Jalen Brown, questionable. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Porzingis, all out. Tatum is in. Derek White is in without a minutes limit. But Sam Hauser, who wasn't on the injury report, is now out. So I guess I need to refresh this. Um, but yeah, man, obviously Jalen's a huge piece here, right? If he's out, it's going to be tough not to love Tatum and White. Again, we are already without Drew Allen, KP from that starting lineup. And with Hauser out, I mean, Pritchard's probably going to see a few extra minutes. He's been really solid. The price is up on him, but it's keeping the ownership down. Um, but yeah, kind of similar to Miami. I mean, there's enough guys out here that even against a pretty good defensive team, I don't think you could really get away from them entirely. But where you at on Boston right now? I think they're definitely an interesting spot. And you bring up Kata. but I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to see if he starts over Cornette or not, because they've gone both ways this season. But yeah, what's your take on Boston right now?
Yeah, so Boston's definitely interesting here. I think it ultimately comes down to Jalen Brown's status for me. If he sits, I probably will like Tatum, even more than what he's owned at right now. We'll start with him. I think he's a definitely a solid play here for Boston. Kind of has been doing everything per usual for Boston here. So like him at 30%. And then Peyton Pritchard, I think it's still fine here at 15%. With Whiteback, I think he does take a minor hit, but you mentioned it. Sam Hauser is out, so I think Pritchard I like as well in tournaments, even in this tough matchup. So I think for me, Tatum and Pritchard, probably my 1A 1B, but I think you can mix in guys like White and then with Kada, I agree he could potentially not start. We'll just have to monitor that news there. Whoever starts.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've seen both. I've seen both centers in different projected lineups, depending where you're looking right now. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Jalen Brown news is huge. Like I said, I think I like Tatum here regardless. For 4 game slate, I mean, we have the Lakers. There's not a ton to pay up for tonight. So as we get more and more value, it's kind of easy to fit him. So maybe even a little more than usual. I'm happy to get there. And again, no Drew Porzingis. There is some extra usage for these starters regardless. But yeah, let's check out chat here. And again, guys, appreciate you kind of holding off for us tonight. Start a few minutes late, but Jose's saying he can't see himself going to Highsmith. He'd rather play Jaquez Jr. And I agree in that Jaquez is the more talented player in terms of what he can do on offense, especially. But the minutes haven't been there for him. We have him for just 22 minutes tonight. And again, with Kevin Love and Jovic out, that's really going to create a spot at the 4. Next to Bam. And yeah, I think that that's filled by someone like Highsmith a little bit better than it is Jaquez. And we've also seen that Jaquez, when he shares the floor with Hero, it's not always the most productive spot for him in that regard. So I don't mind him as a pivot, but at the same time, you're not getting an ownership discount. You're not getting a discount in terms of price either. So I'm fine with both these guys, but for me, it's still Highsmith. But do you like? I know you're a fan of Jaime, but he hasn't really been that upside play yet this year that he was last year.
Yeah, pretty much aligned with you here. He just hasn't played the minutes for me. Obviously, if he played closer to 30 minutes, I would be more interested. But kind of like Brogdon, where he hasn't played. Well, he did play 30 last game, but he hasn't played enough minutes for me to really think he's like a lock and load play. That's just kind of my take though.
Yeah, and I get the comparison. I will say this too, like Brogdon, at least when he is on the floor, he's like better than a fantasy point per minute producer. We really haven't seen that from Miami in a long time. So, don't love either play because of the minutes, but even less than Brogdon. But moving into the next game at 7:30, we got a little bit of injury news here on the Atlanta side. But let's start with the Pels. Let me pull up the spread. We got the Pelicans as 9 point underdogs on the road in Atlanta, 231 point total, one of the highest on the board. Yeah, let's start with the Pelicans here. No Alvarado, no Jordan Hawkins. Ingram is still questionable. I don't know if we've gotten that news, but Herbert Jones and Zion Williamson are both out. So they are missing a few key pieces of their starting lineup as well as their major rotation. Trey Murphy drawing a lot of ownership on both sides. He has been excellent, up to 7K now on FanDuel. That is a little bit of sticker shock, I know for me. Yves Misi, prices up on him as well. He's been okay. I don't know that I want to use a center spot for him tonight necessarily. DeJounte Murray against his old team here. I'm going to pull him up on DK and see what he's been doing lately. Obviously, only a few games removed from injury. Took him kind of a while to get back this season, but we know the type of player he can be. And if some of these guys are going to be out, especially Zion, Ingram, extra usage for him can certainly go a long way. I like to see that he's been getting to 30 minutes. I think for me, that's enough to get to him here. And if you want to play into narratives, why not? Maybe you get some Murray here against Trey Young, which isn't a bad match for DeJounte Murray really on either end. So I like, or it is defensively, never mind. But as far as DFS goes, it's not going to hurt us. I like Murray here. Pretty interested on both sides. I mean, DK, you're paying a little bit more, but sub 10% to me. Definitely an upside play I like. You could go down to McCollum for a little bit of a discount. But I think regardless of whether Ingram's in or not, I like Murray. If Ingram's out, I think I like McCollum a lot too. But where are you on the Pels right now? There's a lot to kind of piece through here, and they do tend to run pretty deep rotations.
Yeah, so you nailed it here. I think New Orleans overall here is in a really good spot as a team here against Atlanta. Definitely not a good defensive team. So starting up top, I think Trey Murphy here at 23% is definitely solid. Point per dollar, he probably projects out the best here for New Orleans. And then I do like mixing in both McCollum and Murray. I know Murray's price is like 8K, but you see his FanDuel ownership, he's almost 30%, and it's a great matchup and a revenge narrative. So combine all those factors, I think he makes for a really good tournament play here.
Nice, man. Yeah, and again, I think it gets even better if we do get word that Ingram's out, but it's tough not to like some of these guys anyway. The matchup really definitely boosts their upside, and it is a limited slate, so we only have so many teams to choose from. On the other side here, we do have Atlanta. Not a ton of news for them. Bogdanovich is probable. All the G Leaguers are listed as questionable, which is weird. I don't think they're up with the team. That being Keat Wallace, Seth Lundy, Don Barlow. Like, I don't even know why they'd be listed as questionable. Never mind. Trey Young is listed as probable. Don't need to go into the G Leaguers here. Obviously, Trey looks pretty good. Jalen Johnson, much better on DK, where he's almost 1K cheaper, but he's been excellent. Clint Capella, he's starting to show a little bit of upside here, still splitting those minutes pretty much down the middle with Onyeka Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter, kind of boomer bust, decent in the mid range. I know we like the New Orleans side a lot here, but is there much outside of Trey or Jalen that you're interested for Atlanta? And I guess, are you interested in Trey and or Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, we'll start out with Jalen here. The Discord knows I've been all over this guy. I feel like almost all of us at Occupy have. I think he looks awesome here. 8,200. Dude, it just seems like his price has not moved for the past like 2 weeks. So I think he looks amazing here. Great matchup, great fancy producer. So love him, 8,200. And then I think Trey Young, 8,800, still seems too cheap. His floor has kind of been a little bit dicey, but his ceiling is kind of inevitable. He has been, really good or really bad. So like both those two up top. And then I was getting to some Bogdanovich in tournaments. He's not like a core player or anything, but definitely a guy I think I want to mix in as well. Did you have any other takes here on Atlanta though?
I mean, I don't mind either center. I think I'd rather go to Capella of the two, but if they're going to stay kind of low owned, I think they're worth mixing in. I don't mind Bogdanovich on DK. On FanDuel at 5,600. To me, he's kind of unplayable. Reassure actually still been getting decent minutes. I want to check out his game log because I haven't played him at all recently. But I kind of thought he'd be seeing a bigger cut with Bogdan back. We really haven't seen that. Where are these minutes? 25. I mean, he's actually playing more with Bogdan back, which doesn't make any sense, but kind of similar producer. Neither are that popular, so I don't know that we necessarily go to either. If Bogdan became super popular, I would say Zachary Reassure is kind of a good pivot, but at the same time, both pretty low. So you're not getting a huge piece of leverage there. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I think Jalen and Trey, kind of the obvious plays, maybe some of that Clint Capella in the center spot, but I don't know. I feel better about the New Orleans side, even not knowing all the news yet with Brandon Ingram.
One more question I wanted to ask you before we move to the next game here. Who do you think Dyson Daniels guards here on New Orleans? Because that might change the way I look at the New Orleans guards here, at least.
I mean, my guess would be CJ.
Yeah, that's what I was in it too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can still create screens and stuff to get him open. And Murray's, I don't know. If Ingram's in, I still think it's probably CJ. It's just a weird matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jalen will probably see Ingram if Ingram's in. But again, I mean, these teams, I think Atlanta runs a decent amount of zone. I know they like to glue Daniels to people when they can, but I don't know that there's like some huge gap there between the two. But no, it makes sense. I mean, and we're talking on the NFL side tonight, right, about who Surtain's going to be on. It's like, it's obviously not the same thing in basketball, but it is worth mentioning. It's a pretty good question.
Mhm.
All right. So let's keep moving right along. We got my Nets here tonight. They are very much banged up, taking on the Bulls. Taking a look at what Vegas has for this game, the Bulls are 8-point favorites at home, 232.5 point total. I think that is the highest on the slate. Yeah, let's start with my Nets here. Bojan Bogdanovic, who most people probably don't even know is a net, he should be back soon. He's still out. Noah Clowney's out. Dorian Finney-Smith is out. Cam Johnson questionable. Ben Simmons out. Cam Thomas out with a hamstring injury. Not going to see him for a few weeks. And then Zaire Williams as well. So The Nets are interesting, man. I mean, Jordy Fernandez, honestly, in my opinion, and I know I'm very biased, definitely an early front runner for Coach of the Year. He has these guys playing amazingly. Dennis Schroeder really the glue on this team, though. Any game he's out, they tend to fall apart completely. Schroeder is in and inactive tonight, so I expect this to be a competitive game. I'm hoping Cam Johnson's in. So does most of the field, though. Sub 7K, one of the better 3-point shooters in the league to start the season, and yeah, super popular at his price. Fine getting to him. Keon Johnson as well, just too cheap for what we're projecting for him in minutes around 27. I think he could play even more than that. Claxton is kind of the wild card here. I mean, we have him for 28 minutes. I think that's fair. It is a decent matchup against Vooch. I'm fine using him in tournaments sub 10%. Finney Smith, we still have in the model, though. And with him being out, I think that's going to provide a decent boost to someone like Watford. Jalen Wilson, who I know you're a big fan of, somewhat scoring dependent, but he could spike the ceiling just as easily as a Keon Johnson or Trendon Wofford, who are way, way more popular than him. So I think he's a viable pivot. And again, I don't want to list all these nets, but with so many guys out on a limited slate, even someone like Shake Milton makes a little bit of sense as value. I know he burnt us the other night, Tyrese Martin. If he gets hot from three, he could definitely crush that price. So I always say this about the Nets, especially with a few of these guys out. I think they're good plays, but for me to sit here and pump out my chest and say one is a great play, especially when we're talking about the value, I just can't do that. Night to night, it's really a team effort right now, so you don't know what you're going to get. I do think Schroeder's fine. He's priced up. Obviously, with Cam Thomas out, he's seeing extra usage. Him and Cam Johnson, 2 years safer plays here. But to see Keon and Watford is like the chalk of all value, that does scare me a bit. We got a lot of pivots, but I know I'm rambling now about the Nets all the way to the 13th spot on their roster. It's gross. But this matchup with the Bulls is about as good as it gets. So I liked him here. I'm hoping Cam Johnson's in actually because I'd rather play him than some of the secondary value. But where are you at on the Nets, man? And I know I've just run out of breath talking about him already.
You're good, man. I love the enthusiasm with the Nets here, man. Yeah, so I think Brooklyn here, you pretty much covered it on the dot. I think all these guys look like pretty good plays, maybe minus like Milton and Martin down here. So I kind of, it kind of depends on Cam Johnson's status here. If he plays, I think he's awesome here at 6,600. Keon Johnson. So I wanted to talk to you about him because I think he's definitely good value play, but I don't know if he's like a 60% good value play. So I think he's interesting. I may come a little bit under if he gets like super, super chalky. And then, yeah, with Watford here, I actually do really like Watford. No Dorian Finney Smith, you nailed it. I think he looks pretty good here at 4,400. And then you mentioned Jalen Wilson. I want to get to him here, but I don't know if I can do it like heavily here. I don't know. I think he's fine to mix in, but definitely not a spot I'm going to Jalen Wilson here.
Yeah, so I mean, of all the wings, um, I don't know. Keon has been the most consistent. The minutes haven't necessarily, but he did play 27 plus the 2 games against Orlando. So I get why the field's getting there. He just looks like the safest play right now. But at the same time, it's not like these rotations are firm. I could see Jalen Wilson starting, getting more minutes. I could see Tyrese Martin starting. Only played 7 minutes last game. Hasn't been shooting great since he pretty much beat the Suns on his own, where he went for 40 fantasy points. But if he starts, I mean, he's another good pivot. So really here, like if you're playing cash games, I do think Keon's the safest piece of value. I honestly don't know that Watford's safe even um, at his price because we are getting Dayron Sharp back tonight, and I don't think that I want to play Sharp, but I do think that he could see enough minutes to maybe come into Watford. So yeah, if Cam Johnson's in, I think Keon's safe. I would proceed with some caution on Trent or Watford chalk, if we're being honest. And if you're playing 150 lineups, I would mix in the Shakes, the Jalen's, and the Tyrese Martins. Tyrese Martin, if he starts again, he won't be 0% owned, but he burnt people so bad the other night when he was like 60, 70% owned. No one's going to want to go back. I mean, you can play 10% in 150 lineups or even less and get way over the field, I think. So I don't mind him. But yeah, man, again, this is a team that they run kind of flat rotations even when they're healthy. Um, Jordy's not afraid to go deep onto this bench, even when guys are out. So I don't know. I like the Keon Johnson play, even if he comes off the bench. I think he's pretty safe. Proceed with caution on Trendon, though. As talented as Trendon is, the minutes have been very inconsistent with him. And with Claxton and Dayron questionable, I don't know that he sees much time at the five. But Again, too much time on the Nets, even on a 4 game slate. So let's move over to the Bull side. Chicago, Kobe White's questionable. Okay, I missed that earlier. Patrick Williams is still out. So we got to figure AO is going to get the start again. Obviously, wide range of outcomes. Has the ceiling to justify that price, but when his shot's not falling, I mean, it can go south fast. But if Kobe White's out, I mean, Giddey and Levine are both going to look excellent. Vooch looks good here. Pretty decent matchup, reasonable price. Happy to get to him. But what's your take on Chicago right now? And I'll let you talk about Chicago more than I did because I know I spent way too much time on the Nets. But
You're good, brother. So we did just get news that Kobe White. We literally just got this. Kobe White just got ruled out. So could get a bump to the Chicago guards here. And I think we could get the potential bump to even Horton Tucker for more minutes as well. So, and then one other piece of news, we also got Cam Johnson for the Nets ruled out as well. Now,
okay,
so just wanted to cover that as well. But for the Bulls here, yeah, I think all these guys are in playing tournaments. Vooch, Levine, uh, Giddy, and then now I think Ayo becomes even better as well. So like all these guys in tournaments, I think I lean the guards here: Levine, Ayo, and Giddy. But I think all these guys are in play now with Kobe White out here.
yeah, I mean Levine at his price, he hasn't been really hitting value that often, but with the extra usage, you gotta like him here. Giddy probably my favorite, and I hate to say that, but I mean his minutes have been consistent against backcourts that he can defend against, and I think the Nets aren't going to really put anything in front of him here that he can't handle. Expect him to go over 30 minutes. But yeah, it does get a little bit more interesting now with someone like Taylor Horton Tucker. Maybe he's been shooting really well. They haven't been giving him increased minutes, but I do think at 3,200 on DK, he's someone you can maybe mix in. But just to kind of, I don't know, backtrack to the Nets for a second. With Cam Johnson out, I know I was kind of talking down the Watford play. Now suddenly Watford might be tough to get away from. I still think he's a little bit riskier than maybe people want to acknowledge. But I love Keon Johnson, love Schroeder. Um, those are the two I feel best about. But yeah, Watford's probably good now. You can mix in Wilson, Milton, Martin, but I don't want to spend any more time on the Nets. But that is huge, huge news.
Yeah.
Definitely creates a big vacuum in both minutes and usage. But let's move right along. I think we have one more game to go. And again, chat, we'll catch up. We'll take questions. Thug and I know you want those Yahoo values. I got you, man. But let's start with the Lakers here. So the Lakers are in Minnesota, I believe. Yep, 8 o'clock lock time. Minus 7.5 are the Timberwolves at home. 219.5 point total. Yeah, so the Lakers, AD is probable, as he always is. Still no Jackson Hayes. Hood questionable. Bunch of G Leaguers listed. Austin Reeves questionable. Reddish questionable. D'Angelo's probable. Vanderbilt and Wood are still out. So I knew most of this coming in. I guess Reeves being questionable is a little bit surprising to me. We've seen Dalton Connect have some big games recently. At his price, I think if Reeves is in, he's really tough to get to. If he's out, sure. Chuck, our resident Lakers fan, has been pretty high on Russell since he's moved to the bench as far as DFS plays go. And it's been paying off for the most part. Honestly, he's been producing much better coming off the bench. I'm fine getting to him his value, kind of regardless of who else ends up out. But yeah, AD LeBron look good here. Again, not too many spots to pay up for on this limited slate. But yeah, where are you at on the Lakers right now? Not the best matchup against the Timberwolves, but at the same time, the Timberwolves are kind of struggling in their own right now.
Yeah, so contrary to last night where we jammed Lakers here, I think I'm probably going to be a little bit lower. Tougher matchup here against Minnesota. I think it all comes down to Austin Reeves' status for me. If he plays here, I think all these guys are fine in tournaments. And then I think if he sits, we can maybe go back to a guy like Rui Hachimura for value. Um, I don't know about Christie because I think we should see what Cam Reddish back tonight. But I think we can mix all these guys in tournaments if Reeves sits.
Yeah, we did actually see Gabe Vincent get a start over the weekend. I mean, I never get to Reddish or Christie, kind of regardless of who's in or out, just because of all the 4 games we've seen out of them over the past couple of years. But I like that you brought up Rui. I think he's a really good play. With Reeves in, he's okay. With Reeves out, I mean, at his price, he's going to look really, really solid. Probably at reasonable ownership too, because we might not have this news by lock. Over on the Minnesota side of things, Joe Ingles still out. Dillingham is questionable. Not that he's been a huge part of this rotation. So they're healthy right now. Kind of a troubling situation there, though. I hear a lot coming out of Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley about how this team is soft. Um, which is obviously never good to hear. Randall's been playing all right. His price hasn't really moved. Nas Reed, kind of the boomer bust type play that you look for at the power forward position, low floor, high ceiling against a big Lakers team. I think his minutes are pretty secure. Mike Conley, we got a lot of people asking, is he good chalk? I mean, he's fine. The minutes are there. He has been a little bit more aggressive lately, trying to pick up the slack for some of this team. I don't know. At high ownership, though, it does scare me a bit. Anthony Edwards, high ceiling, kind of low floor for his price. Gobert, about where he should be. I don't see tons of upside out of him. But where you at on Minnesota tonight? Kind of one of the tougher teams for me to get to, mostly because of where the ownership's at. Like, I get all these guys' as plays, but at the same time, I'd say if there's any team that's probably over-owned tonight, it might be Minnesota. Again, they're healthier than pretty much any other team on the slate.
Yeah, I completely agree here. It's not necessarily the best matchup either against the Lakers, and I think Mike Conley, you nailed it here. He does seem really overowned to me. I know Chuck's kind of a big fan of him, but I don't love his like him as chalk here, and he's fine. I just think we have a bunch of good plays now, and then with the addition of Kobe White being out, I think I want to go to these Bulls cards rather than a chalky Conley. I think.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how ownership changes because I mean, again, the slate locks a little later. We got another hour or so. I know you're in Discord. I think it's 7 Eastern tonight. So, for those in chat without access, check the links in the description below. Everyone, also please like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill at this point. But yeah, we're getting updating data every second now because more of this news comes out. Once Cam Johnson's out, obviously things are going to change. I think for Chicago. Yeah, Kobe's still in there, so we got to kind of wait on some of this stuff to update. But ownerships could shift dramatically. But I'm with you, man. If Conley's still going to be chalk after all this news, that's one of the easier spots to get away from. And I'm someone who's usually higher than the field on my Conley, but probably not tonight. So checking out the chat here, Thuggin scrolling up to you. Top values on Yahoo. And again, we're still waiting for this data to update. We did just get a ton of news. Luke Cornett's up there. I would say prefer him starting. If not, it's going to be Davis Keita. They're both cheap on Yahoo, though, so you're good either way. Hauser not still in right now. Pritchard's going to climb the board once he's out. Trendon Watford's going to be even a better play at the mid price on Yahoo than you're getting Keon, Haywood Highsmith, who I mentioned earlier. Schroeder once you're getting into that mid range, but hopefully that helps you out, Doug. And again, just know that this is going to change as some of this other news breaks or as the model adjusts. A few guys mentioning that Sharp's back for the Nets tonight. I think we talked about that enough, but yeah, that is notable. I don't know that you could play Sharp yet, but it probably cuts into some of those minutes for the rest of the front court. Someone asking Tyler Hero or Trey Young. Do you want to take that one?
I think for me in cash games, it's definitely Tyler Hero. Tournaments probably Trae Young.
Yeah, Hero's been more consistent actually in terms of hitting his kind of price point per dollar, like 6, 7x, if that's what you're looking for. Obviously, Trey is the ceiling, but at the discount, I think that's solid. Um, is Missy for Pelicans a good value for DK single entry? What's your best center? All right, so I guess we can handle this different ways. I mean, value center, I'd say whoever starts for Boston. But who are your favorite centers tonight? I'll pull that position up on DK.
Yeah, so I think, up top, I like Vooch, obviously, especially with no Kobe White here. He's probably like point per dollar up top, probably my favorite. And then I think we talked about this. I kind of like Bam, a low ownership up top as well. So probably say Vooch and Bam up top. And then you nailed it. Whoever starts between Cornet and Kata probably will be my favorite down the high.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Vooch is really good here. I think the kind of contrarian one I might mix in is Capella.
Yeah.
And I can find the salary for 80 pretty easily on both sides. So if you're considering him a center, I'd throw him into that group as well. We got a comment here from Javier, kind of countering what we just said about Trey and Tyler Hero. So I still think Trey's more than 1K than Hero on both sites. And in terms of OF index, I mean, he's rating better as a value play on both sites. Um, but yeah, I mean, Trey's price has come down. I think on DK you can get to him. On FanDuel, I mean, he's pretty much been 9.5 all season, so not seeing a huge discount there. But at the same time, you're paying 1,300 less for Tyler Hero, likely with similar production, and Jimmy Butler being out for Miami as well as others helping boost that usage rate for him. Um, yeah, anything else, guys? Feel free to get it in. Otherwise, let's go ahead and start to build this dummy. And again, still waiting on a lot of news. We did just get that Kobe White's going to be out. Still waiting on Jalen Brown. The Nets are without a lot of guys tonight. Where are we starting? I mean, obviously, this Brooklyn Chicago game has a lot of the value. Um, with Kobe White out, who are you going to first?
Ooh, I really like Josh Giddey. I think we kind of both said we like Giddey here.
Nice.
63. Should we throw him in there?
Yeah, let's do that. And while I remember it, let's go with Vooch as well, because he's someone who's going to benefit, but not maybe as directly as the backcourt guys, but any extra usage for him in this matchup, I do like. And again, I like AO, I like Levine, but I think point per dollar, Giddy and Vooch are probably a little bit safer. On the net side, I think Keon Johnson is probably going to have to start now. I think even if he doesn't, he's probably the safest net. I don't know what position DK has him at though. Okay, there we go. Shooting guard. Any other nets you want here? I mean, Schroeder looks pretty good, but there's a lot of guards to like. I don't know. I don't know that I can get to Watford as much as maybe we should. Let me
Yeah.
just check his minutes.
Do you think he'll start here for Kim, Kim Johnson?
Um, I honestly don't. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna go with. I think Keon starts next to Martin and Wilson, but we can
Okay.
see. I'd feel a little better if he started, but Jordy's done everything this year, and it's impossible to read him, but it's kind of worked. So um, I
Maybe
don't know.
we.
We don't need to force nets. I mean, what else are we getting to tonight? Boston has some decent spots. Miami.
I was gonna say maybe one of the studs here in the Miami Boston game. So either Hero or Tatum. I think makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, where we're at in terms of price, we could probably fit both. Let me
Okay.
see. Yeah, 75. So we're gonna need some value now, but I think we have it, right? So
Yeah.
4,600 per. If we could find one really deep punt, that'd be helpful. But
We can go.
um,
Horton Tucker's really cheap, but we already have two Bulls, so maybe that would be. Well, I guess we could throw him in there, but
I mean, I like Highsmith.
oh yeah, we can go Highsmith. That's fine too.
Cool. All right, now we're up to 5K per forward and utility. So we got options. We even start at utility. See what's really cheap. Um, Conley is down there. I would say if Reeves is out, Rui's probably going to be the guy.
So Reeves, we did get news here. Reeves is out tonight. We just got that like 3 minutes ago.
Perfect. All right, well, let's go Rui, and we're left with 5,300 for a forward. We can honestly move Rui to the forward too, and just see what was 5,300 at utility. Um, I mean, we could go Dalton Connect, but let's see what happens if we go Rui at forward.
Yeah.
Just curious what we land on. Oh, yeah, AO probably, right?
Yeah, AO's definitely in play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a pretty chalky lineup, but it looks damn good to me. Let's go ahead and check out chat one last time. Thugga Thuggin appreciates the Yahoo value. Mr. Don, shouts out to you as well, my friend. Um, and yeah, I think we covered it, man. And even with a little bit of a late start, I mean, we do have just 4 games tonight. Lots of news, but I think we've handled it well. And for such a small slate, with all this value opening up, I think it is going to be easy to get different. So more so than ever, just make sure you're checking ownership as we lead into lock. All the more reason to get access to the model you see here, which is updating in real time. But any last thoughts on the slate, man? And feel free to plug the Discord, which I know you're live in about a half hour.
Yes, sir. So yeah, definitely hop on the Discord. We or typically it's one of us and they're breaking it down. I think most of us post some sort of sheet prior to the slate locking. So come on there, look at the sheet. We'll answer your questions, whatever you have, and yeah, hopefully the Brooklyn guys go off tonight, Nick. Right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's tough to feel good about any of these guys, but you know a few are going to hit ceilings.
Yeah.
Again, Keon Johnson probably the safest if you're not going to count Schroeder. Um,
Yeah.
After that, you're playing with fire, so just keep an eye on ownership. But they all have tons of upside with their price. But yeah, everyone, once again, just thank you. Start of a new week here after a long weekend. Never easy to hit the ground running, but we managed to do it tonight. So let's carry that momentum into the slate, win a bunch of money. Take care, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you guys. Good luck.